Good morning and welcome to the Shenipsit Trail. I'm here at the South Terminus in Portland. You can probably just make out the Connecticut River in the background there. I'm here at the Great Hill Overlook. The plan for the next 2 days is to hike from here 50 miles north to the north end of the Shenipsit Trail. Pretty great view from up here. But we've got quite a lot of hiking ahead of us, so let's get to it. We started just back there from Gadpouch Road. The trail here is usually pretty wet, but they've been working on some minor reroutes to get around it. And really, the start is just a nice steep climb to get your heart rate going early. Yeah, we're probably talking pretty steep. Leaving the Great Hill Overlook, kind of walking along this little spine here, and you're getting, I can see at least through the trees, a little bit of view, and that'll be kind of a common theme for this trail. But it's hard to believe that the state has owned that 10-acre parcel. I'm not certain it's the Overlook specifically, but they've owned that 10-acre parcel since 1917. So it was one of the earliest acquisitions of the early state park commission. I've been seeing these all morning already, but would you look at these? That's perfect. Crossing Woodchopper Road. Be able to just start catching it. The light is hitting it right. We are passing into the quarries section of the Shenipsit Trail. Picking up lots of spider webs today, and I think there's at least one back near the Great Hill Overlook, but we are coming up on what's known as State Forest Quarry number 1. I think there's several in the area, but this is the one right off the trail. I don't think that they were particularly lucrative, but they definitely mined mica out of here, and I think they were hoping for more. See plenty of it here and in spots along the rock there. So not really a ton to see in Little Quarry, but it's cool that it's right along the trail and kind of touches on the history of this whole area, which is known for its mines and quarries. We have briefly left the old forest roads and we're crossing over Brook. And I think we're about a mile, maybe a little more, past Woodchopper's Road. And just down here, we have Brook Falls, which actually for Brook Falls is running pretty well. And just past the falls, we begin the climb up the hills of the Bald Hill Range. It's a pretty steep climb, but if you get tired, you can stop and smell the mountain laurel. These ones are pink. The theme, like I mentioned earlier, you almost get some views out to the west there from this range. This ridge is definitely one of the least traveled sections of the trail, but it's pretty peaceful up here and feels kind of remote because you're so far away from either parking area on either side. As you can see, we are still on state forest property. We've been hiking this whole morning, and we'll continue hike for a good bit more entirely within the Meshomasic State Forest, which is Connecticut's oldest state forest, the oldest in New England, and I believe the second oldest in the country, dating back, I want to say 1903, but I could be just off on that date. This tells me that we are entering or getting close to the Reservoir Road section. This whole trail honestly is a little bit popular with ATVs and off-road vehicles, even though they're not supposed to cross over on this Blue Blaze Trail. And so you can see all the tire tracks here from the vehicles that are enjoying a different kind of outdoor recreation. Usually I'm not inclined to share it, but you really never know what you're going to find out here. There's a pretty large interconnected network of trails here and all crisscross, and we'll continue to see that through the early morning. Mosquito. But now I forgot what I was going to say. But thankfully the trail is blazed pretty well. That's all I have to say. Gosh, look at this section. Completely surrounded by mountain laurel patches as far as I can see. Beautiful. We've been heading slowly downhill for quite a while now, and the forest is changing and turning into all these ferns, which tells me that we are leaving the Reservoir Road section and are getting close to the Dickinson Road parking and the crossing for Route 2. Looks like it's been a bit hidden here over the years, but this is the old trail notice where they rerouted the trail to go over to Dickinson Road and then a long road walk around Route 2, whereas you used to take this trail off in the woods over here down to Route 2 and then run across both lanes and then go continue along the Dark Hollow section. I did hike down that abandoned section of trail, and it takes you up this nice rocky spine with a great view of all this mountain laurel. There's a little erratic perched, and you come down to where you used to cross Route 2. Unfortunately, it did not give me easy access to the culverts under Route 2, which I was hoping to use to cut off this next road walk portion, but it's still too far away. So I'm gonna just fast forward through this next stretch. Road walk technically complete. I'll be honest, it sucked more than I thought it would, but we are at the end of Tollgate Road. You can see the next section of the Meshomasic State Forest is through here, and that's what we're on to next. All that effort on that big long road walk just to end up on the other side of these culverts, which is what I was looking for on the other side. Would have cut some time down from, I want to say, like 2015, maybe 2018. In that time frame, the Connecticut Forest and Park Association was trying to get a ledge built in that culvert to allow a easier access and avoid that whole road walk. But after some back and forth with the DOT, they were unable to achieve it, and so for now at least we're stuck with the road walk. But thankful to be done with it and to be back on regular trail. Another steep climb, but leaving the noise of Route 2 behind us and heading back in the forest. Old guidebooks call this an overlook, and perhaps it used to be, but even during the winter now, the trees are tall enough that you can't really get the view. This is fantastic. I've been hiking for the last 20 minutes or so on trail exactly like this, covered on both sides with peak mountain laurel. It's just perfect. Just perfect. One more almost view through the trees there. Next stop, Brook Falls. Take a very wet little spur trail and you come out right next to Brook Falls. Gorgeous, right? Refresh a little bit. Perfect little spot, right? And views on either side. It's another one of the lesser traveled sections of the trail, although it's pretty beautiful here along the brook. It's pretty rugged too, with lots of stones and a steep bank. This is coming up to Imperial Drive. A couple of road crossings here. They do note parking here, but the curb makes it a little difficult. In the last time that I was trying to park here, I didn't think I could make it up and over. Just missing the great blue heron I scared off. So this, it's a little hard to tell with all the overgrowth. Actually, the water level is much lower than the last time I was here. But that is a man-made dam, and I'm assuming that there is some mill history to that, but I've never found anything that says what specifically. So I'll try and dig up some old footage of what it looked like the last time I was here. Coming off Diamond Ledge, I couldn't remember if it was a road walk or not, but it isn't. It's just a very overgrown little access trail into this another short wooded section. You can just about make him out right there. Probably gonna scare him. Yep, there he goes. Glad I got him that time. This is the backside of, I forget what this is called. Black Ledge Open Space? Can't quite remember, but there's a open space with nothing much really for trails on the other side of here, and obviously some private property that you can see up there. That section will take the cake for least traveled on the day. It was definitely a thicket of poison ivy and a bunch of wet spots with old bridges, but it's a nice little connector rather than a road walk. This should be the short road walk here amongst all these nice houses. That last stretch was a real short woods walk, and we are about to turn on to Birch Mountain Road here. I think it's about 0.3 miles. Now we could continue on Birch Mountain Road and go all the way up to Case Mountain, but the trail actually turns right here. And you can see that we are right here at the bottom of this map, and we've got the rest of this and a little bit more for the rest of the day. This section of trail is protected by the Kongsket Land Trust, which for me at least is one of the more mysterious land trusts. I just don't know a lot of information about them, but I know they popped up on several of the hikes that I've done in this area. We just climbed up to this ridge line, and these big boulders ahead tell me that we are entering the Garnet Ledge section of the trail. Garnet, of course, is the Connecticut state mineral, and this area is part of one of those non-linear trails known as the Garnet Trail, which is about a dozen or so sites around the state where you can find fair amounts of garnets. I've been to a couple of them, and I do not have the eye or the knowledge to be able to spot them in these areas, but you certainly could look it up. I think it was last updated in 2021, and there is plenty of information online about searching them out for any of you rock hounds. Yeah, I always start to look at things like this, and I'm like, yeah, probably if I knew what I was looking for, I'd be able to see them. These blue and white blazes mean that's the Gay City Trail connector, so you could connect over to Gay City State Park. I think it's about 2 miles away, and there's, I don't know, 6-8 miles of trails at least over there. So big popular mountain biking area here, and we just got this ledge, an overlook, and then we'll be entering the Case Mountain area. Here we're gonna come to one of those tiny little window overlooks. Yeah. Yeah, in the winter this one's slightly better. But yeah, just the theme of the hike, unfortunately, is tiny little overlooks that don't quite have the view. But the trail's going great so far. Here we go. I think someone's done the work for me. Pretty sure that all these little dots here are garnets. Nice. There's an interesting little stretch of trail, and I hear some rushing water. Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Derek. We are just about to the backside of Case Mountain, and definitely a different terrain here. Sort of the same kind of ridgeline, but this one is pretty open with a bunch of like low blueberry, wild blueberry. Crossing over the main carriage path to stay on the Shenipsit. This is a uber popular park. Pretty much everybody I talk to has come here at least once, and I've yet to see anybody here. And in fact, I've only seen 2 people out on the trail so far today, so kind of surprised for such a beautiful day, but I'm guessing that we'll see at least somebody at the overlook. Yep, as popular as ever. We got people sitting on the benches, and pretty good little view here. Although, as I always say, this lens never does it justice. And I always forget that it's actually a good little detour off the Shenipsit. You have to, probably only 0.1 or 0.2 miles, but you do have to hop off the Shenipsit and take, I think it's the Yellow Trail, to connect up to the Lookout Mountain overlook. You get this narrow band to leave the park between private property. And here we are on our long-awaited return to Birch Mountain Road. Now we've got a bit of a road walk here. Actually, just missed the turnoff talking to the camera. Backtrack just a hair, and here we are back on the trail. Looks like we got a nice bridge up ahead. Oh yeah, gorgeous. Looks like the trail will be a little hard to follow though. Made it through that last section, just crossed over Carter Road, then you come directly across, and tucked up in here is the next section. Mostly just pushing through ferns in this section, not very well traveled at all, but looks like we're right along a gas pipeline corridor. This is quite nice. Quiet little brook there. Walked along the gas pipeline for just a bit, crossed the road, and now we are headed over to our last road of the day. What do you suppose that is? I think last road crossing, but maybe it was actually the second to last. Passed through the chain link fence, and I see one more blaze up here on this tree. Just came out of that little tunnel into this nice big open field. You got a farmer way over there. We are just about at the home stretch, I think. Yep, here is the relocation notice, and just changed this road walk to the East Coast Greenway, and then we're done. Little road walk, last one of the day. Just came down from on top there. On the last stretch here, officially on the East Coast Greenway. It's nice because you can actually walk on the grass. You're separated from the cars. So, not terrible. Not terrible, but almost done. Almost done. Crossing over the final bridge of the day. Right over there is Bolt and Notch State Park. And that means that I am through with today's hiking, the first half of the Shenipsit. And I know what you've been thinking this whole time, Matt. You just got this little pack on. What are you gonna do? Well, thankfully, the Bolton Park and Ride is almost perfectly split. 25 miles and 25 miles after to, if I wanted to, sleep in my car. So I've got my sleeping bag and I've got my sleeping pad, and I figured if the trail took forever and I was just wiped out, that I could just sleep here if I needed to. But it also means that I can drive home, which I think I'm gonna do. And the plan is to wake up tomorrow, see how I feel. It's supposed to rain, so might not finish the second half of the trail tomorrow. So if not, I'll come back another time. Good morning and welcome to day 2. I just came from the Bolton Park and Ride. I'm at the trailhead for Freja Park and feel not too bad this morning. The rain chance of rain at least has seemed to have gone down. And we're gonna start our second half of the Shenipsit Trail. Passing by the structure of the old movie theater. You want to see more of that? I did a hike of Bolton Notch State Park and climbed up on top of that thing. Since I was a little too tired yesterday, recap of the day yesterday. Miles and miles and miles of beautiful mountain laurel lined trail. Also miles of trail that were, nothing unique or special. Pretty enjoyable hike, definitely pretty rugged in a lot of sections, and those later ones were lots of less traveled, and road crossings were a little unsure, but everything was really well blazed. You can totally through hike the whole thing, as long as you pay attention. Today I'm actually a little bit less familiar with this half. I've also done the majority of it, but we'll have some sections that I haven't done before. As I mentioned, we are in Freja Park, one of Bolton's town parks. And we get a quick little view of Bolton Notch Pond. And we're gonna hike around the side of it over to the Hop River Trail. So this park kind of acts as a hub for connections. So you've got the East Coast Greenway, which I came across last night. You've got the Shenipsit Trail, which overlaps. And then you've got the town trails here, which also connect over to Risley Park. You've got the trails that connect over to Bolton Notch State Park. And then you've got the Hop River Trail, which runs from Willimantic all the way up into Manchester. So tons of trail options just from this one tiny little park right here. Pretty steep drop off along the trail. Now right down there is the Hop River, which we'll be joining in just a second. Just joining the Hop River Trail. Very popular with cyclists. It'll be kind of a boring walk, but we'll connect us over to Valley Falls next. Pretty cool. Leaving the Hop River Trail and making the short, steep descent down to that Valley Falls. Halfway decent overlook. Nice little bench here, but the real overlook is up there. No way you can see it from here. These little guys are the Valley Falls. And just like that, we cross out of Valley Falls Park and enter into the Belding Wildlife Management Area. Back into all the mountain laurel. Even though I saw it for most of yesterday, still fantastic. This is definitely much improved. Thank you to the people who moved those big rocks. The character of this section of trail has definitely changed. It used to be thick pines, this entire area. And I think that was 2019, maybe 2020. Did some heavy active forest management and opened all of this up. I think it's such a shame that this has been breaking over the years, but the dedication from 2005 for Max Belding, who donated the property, you can see the evidence of the locks for the dam there. And then this is also interesting. These big pines have fallen from right alongside the trail there, and this used to all be open water, and now the habitat has changed and it's slowly swamping in. Not sure exactly where the boundary is, but we just had a road crossing, and we are going to be transitioning from the Belding Wildlife Management Area to the Tankerhoosen Wildlife Management Area. I'm guessing it's still about a mile further north, but already you should be able to hear all the noise from I-84. Coming around the backside of this lower reservoir, about to meet up with our next road crossing. Here we come to the upper reservoir, Walker's Reservoir, and there is a loop trail that goes around the pond over here, but we are just going to walk north along the road here to pass under route or I-84. Crossing under 84 now, and then just a bit more of a road walk before we turn off and onto some kind of new trail. This is one of the brand new stretches for me because I never thought it would be worth doing this road walk before, so new stretch, completely new for me. Successfully navigated that whole busy intersection stretch. And now we are cutting behind the Tolland section of the Yukon extension and see where this takes us. Walking all the way to the back corner of the property. Don't forget to beware of bears. Up and out of the woods there and back on a little road walk. Some nice trail views. Actually a little bit of a longer road walk than I was expecting, but we've reached the Shenipsit Lake parking area. It's owned by the Connecticut Water Authority, I think that's the official name. And it's another converted rail line, so it'll be a pretty straight shot along the water. You do get some views of the water through the trees there, but the trail, unless you push through, I think there's one little section you can go down to the water. That's as close as you get from just on the trail. The word Shenipsit is a Native American word, which I'm not sure which dialect, but means at the Great Pool, which likely references this lake here. Finally, just about at the north end of the lake here. And gonna do this little sliver in between private property, and then we're going to have a pretty good road walk. Can't remember what the distance is, but the road should be quieter this time. Best view of the lake yet. Yeah, that's real nice. Good to get an actual view of it. These roads are definitely much quieter, and I appreciate it. Up to that long road walk stretch. Really takes it out of my feet. We are briefly back on some trail. Beautiful little hike through here. You've got a little open marsh, some open water over there, and we're getting pretty close to whatever the next road is. Really brief road walk on, I think this is 140, and then we are taking that dirt road. So we have hiked from Bolton into Vernon into Tolland, and this means that we are in Ellington now, and this is the very southern tip of the Shenipsit State Forest. We get a little bit of trail and a bunch of like old 4x4 roads as we traverse this really large parcel of the forest here. This really nice iris trail side. That's a good pick me up. Much like the Meshomasic, there are 4x4 roads through the forest, and there's also a ton of trails in here. Some of them unblazed, many of them blazed, and some of them just kind of maintenance roads. So two state forests are very similar in that respect. Now overlapping with the White Dot Trail, which is the trail used for the Soapstone race every year. I want to say that's like 15 or 20 miles through this section up over the tower and into the northern parcel across Sodom Road. Check out these mud pits. Oh, baby. All right, here is the steep ascent up to Soapstone Mountain Tower. All right, steep climb complete, and now we just have the tower. Nice to have the whole place to yourself. Usually there's at least one other person up here. Tower was rebuilt over 2019, and the structure served originally as a fire lookout back in the early days of the State Park Commission. Pretty great views, and pretty great for sunset too. Such a great view. All right, leaving the top now. A pretty steep descent down to the main parking area, and then we have a road crossing. And then just two more sections. So getting to feel like we're in the home stretch. Made it to the main parking area. Now we just have to cross over this busy road. This is Sodom Road, so short little gravel road walk until we hop back onto real trail. And we've got cool dry air coming in from the north, which certainly makes it feel like rain, but hopefully it holds out. Normally in this stretch you will hear gunshots. It's because we're on the backside of the Summer Sportsman's Club. Yep, there you go. And so a little intimidating, but certainly nothing to be afraid of. Pretty sure they're shooting in the opposite direction. Just about ready to leave this parcel of the Shenipsit State Forest. And we got one more little road walk on this busy road until we meet up with the final section of trail. All right, looks like we're gonna have a pretty busy last section of trail onto gravel Avery Road. Now I have purposefully never hiked this last section because I was going to leave it for whenever I through hiked, and today is that day. So this last little stretch will be completely new, and I think a good way to end it. Well, that's an interesting sight. The whistling tree. I wonder if it still whistles or if it just used to once whistle. One more rocky outcrop and a very partial view through the trees, although it's probably better in the winter, as we wind down the trail. Looks like a cave, but I'm too tired to explore. Alright, coming out of the last section of trail and onto the road. Doesn't quite end just yet. We gotta reach Greaves. Alright, there it is. The end of the Shenipsit. Bit of an unceremonious end here on Greaves Road, though I'm sure they're always looking for some future extension. That is 50.2 miles in 2 days and maybe just over 20 hours of hiking. I really enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. I very nearly ended this movie as unceremoniously as the Shenipsit Trail does.
I'm pretty tired. Think I'll go home now.
But I figured if you've watched all 42 minutes of this, there should at least be a good wrap-up. Having had some time now since the thru hike, editing the movie and putting together trail guide and all that, I now think of the Shenipsit Trail as anchored by these two state forests, Meshomasic and Shenipsit, where the trail through there has largely remained unchanged since it was first blazed back in 1953. It's actually interesting to look at Connecticut walk books across multiple decades using nearly the same map. And then there's this long-standing gap between Bolton and Ellington that has slowly filled in over the years to now make it a complete thru hike. And it creates all these interesting contrasts where you have trail that look largely the same or almost identical 70 years ago, and narrow modern easements between McMansions that were probably built in the last 10 years. And you have these hectic road walks that avoid busy highways, but also rugged, remote, beautiful stretches of mountain laurel where you won't see another person until you pop out at some great overlook. And it's, comes together as 50 miles of trail in one of the most densely populated areas in the country. And sure, there are some inconvenient stretches, but there's also some top-tier hiking. And I think that's reason to celebrate the Shenipsit Trail. I'll see you next time. Bonus, here's the rain I narrowly avoided.